Hey fellas, what's going on? Hoping this will be a fairly quick video given, you're seeing Hatch, so it's probably not. But I figured I'd do what is a quick deck profile of my updated Hatchhyack list. It's designed to kind of incorporate as much of set 12 as we can, which isn't a great deal, but it has a fair bit from set 11 and a bit from the recent draft box 6. So for anyone who doesn't know what the leader does, it's a bit old, it's from set 8, but essentially it puts both players into a situation where if they attack with a battle card, they can't attack with a different battle card unless it's got a cost of 8 or more. So when you attack with a battle card, it triggers the auto, which basically says you can't attack with another battle card or another token with a cost of 7 or less. So it is very much a control strategy, control the state of the game, and kind of make your opponent play to your rules as much as possible. The one caveat with this leader is that it can't attack on its front side, but when you flip over to the back side, it can attack, and it's a big 20k beat stick because it gains 5k on its swing and you draw a card, and it has the same auto trigger where it forces both players to only attack with one battle card unless the next battle card's real big. The other thing to note with this leader is that it says you can only play black battle cards. Now that's not to say that you cannot run non-black battle cards in this deck, and you can still activate their skills if it's something that activates in drop area or in hand or in the combo or something like that, but you just can't actually put black battle cards into play. But one nifty card with this card is gaining control of a battle card, different mechanic. And as far as any ruling I've gotten from Bandai directly, they've confirmed that it does work. So let's just quickly crack into the list. First card we have is Toa as a Unison. Now, the neg 4, it wasn't really intentional to come up, but it did. But the main idea with this deck and this card as a utility is to kind of control the warp. So you're utilizing that +0 or ±0 to ditch a card, warp a card, or battle card from your opponent's side that has a cost of 3 or less, and that will then trigger the auto skill, which is to add a marker. And that will trigger basically when any of your opponent's battle cards leaves the battle area by a skill, which is great, so it'll take up if your opponent has skills that do that on their own. Next is our super combo of the deck, Vegeta. Not really much to really explain here. It's probably the best black super combo in the game now that that good old Barbody has gotten the nerf. Now, with the deck, we needed a way to be able to speed the deck up in the early game, so I decided to go back to our good old Kai 1-drops. So this card, you play it, it goes back to the deck and searches out another black 1-drop battle card with 3k power. And we've just got the one target in here, which is the Supreme Kai. It's a 1k blocker, 1 cost blocker that allows you to draw a card on play. It's a great utility. I love it to bits. So the other 1-drop utilities we ran were 2 Son Gohan, 2 of the other Supreme Kai, and 2 of the Goku counter attack. So this is just here to control blue, to put blue in check. Blue, just with the way it works with a lot of the Unisons, it can tend to kind of stomp on this deck a fair bit. So if I can, once I get to my power play turns, put them in check by having this on field to stop their counters, it kind of evens out the game state a little bit. This card I put in here to kind of address an issue that Hatch can tend to not have good combo power. So if it's me trying to combo out of something, one of my previous games I found I just didn't have good combo power. So I put this in here to kind of address that issue. And for the most part, it worked. And this card probably needs not much explanation. It's a 1-cost counter attack that counters the attack and then puts the card into play. And it's just such a fantastic card to then recycle with Power Burst to add it back to your hands and pay with Power Burst with Sparking, so you can then have this back, have an energy ready, counter again. Again, all about controlling the state of the game and the speed of the game with this deck. Next cards we run are kind of like our tech cards of choice. I mean, there's more tech in the deck, but, kind of just breaking it down, I guess. Makikabura. Yeah, not really much explanation needed. It's basically you play it, you call a character and a cost, and your opponent cannot play cards with that same character or cost during their turn. So it is a way to basically keep the meta in check, in my opinion. It fits in any deck that allows you to play a black battle card. Not sure there's any decks that prevent that, but it's basically a staple in the meta right now. And because we have so many black battle cards that leave the battle area by a skill, we have SS3 Tag Team Gohan in here, which is just a fantastic blocker. Come out during your turn, your opponent's turn, doesn't matter. It's such a fantastic utility, and we have some cards in the deck to recycle that. So kind of bringing it back to the old school Hatch cards, I put them backwards. How silly of me. We just ran 2 Slug, 2 Cooler. Originally my intent was to have this as Turles, the 4-cost one, but I couldn't find any, so we just ran Cooler instead. And it was actually good because I was able to neg battle cards during my opponent's turn, which would then trigger Toa if it left the battle area by a skill, and it was good. Slug in here again to kind of be able to warp cards that my opponent's playing early turn, so if I play a big boss monster early, it's great for that. And also I needed a way to be able to put cards back in my deck, otherwise I do actually run the risk of milling out. Now we played a couple of Overwhelm targets. We played Trunks. Trunks is basically there in case I mill my Secret Rare or my win conditions early game with the way the Leader's Awaken skill works. And if you're not sure on how that works, I'd recommend going back and reading it to get your head wrapped around it. But essentially at the first 3 turns, you put the top card of your deck under the Leader, next card in the drop area, next card you draw. And once you've done that 3 turns in a row, you have 3 cards here, 3 energy, you awaken, the 3 cards go from here to the drop area. So that's your awaken condition for this deck. Probably should have explained that earlier. But anyway, if I mill one of my Wincons, that's what this is here for, to grab that back. SS3 Vegeta was there to address barrier. Because I'm not running the original Hatchhyack 5 drop that's able to warp cards ignoring barrier, I needed something to address that. So this was probably the best option that I could fit in the deck that would work. Then we've got Brainwash No More. I found I actually used this card as an Overwhelm card much more than I did the Activate Battle. The Activate Battle is you pay 1 black, discard this card, and then warp a life. Place one of your life in the drop area, and it means you don't take battle damage for that attack. So if your opponent's going in with a big triple striker, they drop their hand, you combo with that, and you don't take the triple strike damage, and you don't lose. So the Overwhelm skill though is it's Overwhelm 6 with no cost, so you just Overwhelm for free, and you put 3 black battle cards back from your warp into your drop area. I found that was probably more helpful than the Activate Battle skill, and I'll show you why in just a second, and by just a second I mean now. Because this card, I was able to recycle multiple times and being able to gain so much card advantage off it. So Margin Boo is, it's basically the draw engine of the deck. Pay 1, send this card to your warp, discard a black card at end of turn, draw 2 cards. And just a great utility. Great utility. Moving on, we ran this as far as an old school Hatchhyack card, however, I never ended up using it. Never used either of the skills in any of the games I played the last locals I ran this deck. So it's either going to get cut down or cut completely, to be perfectly honest, as far as what this deck is aiming to do. Now we come to the extra cards. We've got Margin Boo's Human Extinction Attack. Great for keeping my Leader in a safe condition, like if I'm, as opposed to countering attack, relying on this if I know my opponent's not going to combo big, and then I'm able to start warping stuff from their drop area and being able to still play into that warp control. We have the best generic black counter attack, Power Burst. Not any introduction or explanation needed for this. Most people will know what it does. Basically just You can counter by taking off if you have Sparking 5 or more cards in your drop, and when you counter the attack, you add a black 1-drop battle card back from your warp or drop area to your hand. We played 3 Not Even a Scratch. This is mainly my target for discarding with Toa or with Boo, because if this is my drop area, you pay 1, draw a card. Just keeping up with card advantage. We played Petrification. Hands down, probably the most powerful black counter attack in the game. It's just, it does so much. So if a battle card is attacking that has like an on-attack auto, that like nukes the field or makes your opponent discard, just something like that, using Petrification, because it prevents that card that you choose from activating its skill, you can basically prevent the card's on-attack auto from going off, which is fantastic. Of course, you can choose another battle card that your opponent has to not attack or activate skills, and you can basically counter 2 cards for 1. Moving on to the last extra cards we ran was just 2 Super Kamehameha. I think 2 was fine. 2 was great. Came up when I needed it, saw it when I needed it, was never too overcumbersome. It was great. Now we're getting onto our Wincons. As far as set 12 goes, this is basically it. It's really not much. But Dark Mask King, a big triple striker that comes out for 4 energy via its activate main skill, and the 2 autos it has is just busted. The first auto, when it attacks, you warp 2 battle cards from your opponent's drop area, and then if they have 10 total at that checkpoint, it restands. So given that it's the same battle card, when it triggers this, the same battle card can attack multiple times, which is great. So 2 big 30, sorry, not 30, triple strike swings in Hatch is just fantastic. The second auto is just as much busted, if not more. If your opponent activates a counter skill in response to this card's attack, they warp a life. Put them down to 1, and just let them counter the last one. But fantastic. I thought 3 was fine. I saw it when I needed it and was able to get it out by, warping my opponent's cards nice and early. Now, once we get to the later game, I'd usually drop that turn 5 typically. Once I get to turn 6, we've got Fu, Shrouded, and Mystery. Just put your opponent in a position where they can't activate skills for 2 turns, basically, yours and theirs. It is a game winner. It's costly. It's Overwhelm 10, which means you have to have 10 or more cards in your drop, and you have to tap 6 energy to do it. So, but generally speaking, if you're playing this, you are winning the game. And like, so far with what's in the deck so far, it is relatively budget friendly. This is not really an expensive super rare. There's an SR version of this, which is not very expensive at all, and then the majority of these cards are fairly low budget, which is good. However, we did decide to run 1 secret rare, and my secret rare of choice is SS4 Gogeta. For the longest time, I did have the Demigra secret rare in here, but just simply put, the biggest issue I always had with that secret rare in this deck is that you're tapping 5 energy for it, and yes, it sticks around because it's Dark Overwhelm, not your normal Overwhelm, but you're still tapping 5 energy for it, and if you don't win the game that turn, you're in a dangerous position where you have nothing really to defend yourself with. Whereas Gogeta, when it comes into play, you tap 5 energy for it, but then you're untapping 2, and then drawing cards in that process and making your opponent go down in card advantage. So this, unfortunately, is a very costly secret rare. By no means is it necessary. As far as finishing a game, this will do you fine. Hands down, it'll do you fine. Almost every game when I played this deck most recently, I did end up playing this. And this is primarily what won me the game, but that just comes down to my choices, really. Because where I saw this, I would have also seen this most of the time, and my preference is to play this over this, because this is a little bit more of a versatile card, whereas this is a game ender, and I'd find a lot of the time I wouldn't be able to keep 10 cards in my drop area, because this deck isn't really designed about, you know, turbo your deck till you drop and recycle it the way typical Hatch does. It's kind of just warp control, so that's what I've tailored the deck to do. Well, look, nonetheless, I will always keep playing Hatch no matter how long it sticks in the game, no matter how outdated it gets. I hope you guys enjoyed my take on the deck and where it's at. This deck went quite well, going up against, you know, Dark Broly, Set 12 Slug, the Stardaku reprint, the Soul Striker one, and what was the other deck up first? Red Gogeta. So it went well. We ended up going 2 wins, 2 loss. I'd say this can compete. Piloted well. It can definitely compete, but it is also very fun. So, peace out. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you in the next one.